In this video, we'll be going over all of Asuka's charge moves, setups, and the mind games behind them. First, we need to know what Asuka's charge moves are. In Season 2, she now has forward 2-3 as a charge move, and full crouch down forward 3 as a charge move. Before this, she could only charge forward 3. The very first fundamental mind game is whether or not you're going to finish your hold. In a real match, your opponent would not want to take all of this chip damage for free, so holding back and defending against this is a losing interaction for them. Scenario A is you win by default by a stand block. So if our opponent stands here and does nothing in response, they lose the interaction by taking chip damage. Scenario B is that your opponent mashes to call out the charge. So this will completely interrupt your charge move and then it's their turn. Scenario C is not holding the move to make sure that anyone mashing loses. This is also advantageous because we get an Oki scenario afterwards. Scenario D occurs when your opponent gets tired of trying to mash through the string because they keep losing. So eventually they stop trying to mash through it and you get your chip damage on block again. You'll likely go through these scenarios multiple times in a real match. The best thing you can do is to consider what your opponent's doing in response to your charge. That will let you make the best decisions. This same mindset occurs to full crouch down forward 3 as well. If your opponent decides to do nothing, they have to take the chip damage. And if our opponent thinks we're going to charge, we can always just use a regular full crouch down forward 3. Here's what you should be doing once these moves land. For full crouch down forward 3, we want to follow it up with forward 3+4 since it's guaranteed, and then we get the install. With forward 2-3, we can also follow this up with forward 3+4 and get our install. For both of these knockdowns, we can pressure while running 1+2 on wake up. And here it is with forward 2-3. Now let's talk about what to do with these moves on block. First, we'll start with full crouch down forward 3. Full crouch down forward 3 gives you +8 on block, which gives you the ability to use 1+2 or down 1+2 as a follow-up. So altogether, it'll look like this. And here it is with down 1+2. We can also use throw as an uninterruptible follow-up. However, I would always start with a low or a throw, since you have to actively defend to beat these options. If you find yourself being unable to pressure these options due to a backdash, there's ways around this. There's a technique called micro dashing, which allows you to dash in between your option and keep you uninterruptible. So currently I have June doing a backdash and jabbing. We can chase down this backdash with a micro dash, and this also goes for the other two options, like 1+2 and your throw. So if you're ever worried someone's going to backdash out of your pressure, make sure you're training your micro dash to be as clean as possible. Once you have micro dash down, you can keep your options completely uninterruptible, all while chasing people who like to backdash. Now let's move on to forward 2-3 on block. Forward 2-3 gives you +7 on block. But since there's quite a bit of pushback, we really can't use this +7 to our advantage. The best thing we can do on block is to do one backdash and see what happens. If they choose to mash without thinking, we have a pretty good window to whiff punish them. So I'd highly encourage you to observe very closely what happens once this move is blocked. If they like to mash, use this time to whiff punish them. And since you'll be actively thinking about it, it makes it a lot easier. Due to the frames, we technically have enough time to do another forward 2-3. This is extremely viable because then we can catch people trying to mash in between this string. If this happens, they'll take 39 damage in total. The problem is, if you incorrectly execute this, then you end up taking a lot of damage. Now let's cover our setups using transitions. Before you start doing these charge setups, make sure that your opponent is at least giving you some respect at range 0. Because if your opponent is always mashing, then there's no point in trying to charge your moves. Charge moves are really good against people who like to play patient, so always keep that in mind when you're playing in the neutral. We can use back 1+2 down to get into full crouch at -6. From here, we can pressure our full crouch down forward 3. We can also use up forward 1-2 down and pressure full crouch down forward 3. Forward 2 cancel is also a quick and effective option. Now I'll show you some less viable options just for the sake of skill expression. There's wall standing 1+2 down, back 1 down, 3 slide 4 down back, 3+4 down, and forward 2-3 down. Using the first 3 transitions are going to be the most effective in your game. Back 1+2 down happens fast enough to where your opponent has to think pretty hard. Up forward 1-2 down puts you at a very vulnerable state, however this is why you have to make sure that your opponent's playing patient. So I'd definitely recommend practicing these first 3. Once you've got these transitions down, you can mix and match them to keep your opponent guessing. Here's an example. In all three of these situations, our opponent is being punished just for holding back. Asuka has never been able to flow through her pressure like this, so I think charge moves and these cancels are the right way to go. And that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this helps you guys learn Asuka's charge moves a bit more effectively. If you're struggling with ranking up or general improvement, click the link in the description below. And as always, have a great day, guys.